Hi everyone, Claire here. Thank you for clicking on this little video of mine and listening to and witnessing my 8th attempt at recording the audio for this video. That's it's pretty hefty going. Good job, Claire. Should probably go to bed at some point this evening. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all keeping safe and happy and, not despairing at the state of the world, the country, everything, because I'm not doing that, not at all. No, I'm doing good. So my original plan for this video that I had recorded, and I'm recording the audio separately, I was going to talk about Inktober. With the current plagiarism debacle that is currently happening, which is just great, it's September. October next month, yeah, couldn't have timed it better. And I might still revisit that topic, maybe not in a video, but I might do something else on it. But I decided instead to talk about something which is a bit more personal, something that maybe at least a few of you can relate to in terms of what we've been dealing with globally and bringing it sort of to a more focused level. So the sort of an impact, but not maybe the impact that people would think of when they think of what's been going on. Now, obviously, I can't say the word, but I can say lockdown. You all know what's been going on. 2020's been a dumpster fire. There's only one of a few catastrophes I could be talking about, and I think you all know which one I'm talking about. So, for a little bit of context, I have a 2-year-old daughter who I adore. And before lockdown, I had a 1-year-old. She was a year old. I don't have 2 separate children, talking about the same child. And it was taking a trip yesterday with her that made me realise that the passage of time throughout this whole period in history, this period in our lives, it highlights just how extreme it's been. And I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. Again, because it's a bit personal, it might be something that other people have been going through in different ways. And this is just my experience with it. So what I will do first is I will regale the tale of yesterday, which as of recording would have been Monday, which is yesterday for me. I went to do some chores, went to do some jobs, and I had my daughter with me. And I thought, this, we'll try and survive it, and then we'll go get a coffee, and then we'll go home. And we got on the bus. Obviously, I was wearing a mask. She doesn't wear a mask because, the idea of trying to get my 2-year-old to wear a mask at the moment is not really doable. I know some people have managed to do it, and I wish I had their magic. We got on the bus. We had a lovely, chilled bus ride. This was the first bus ride she had taken since pre-lockdown. Well, pre-lockdown. And we got into the town centre. She was holding my hand. She was, smiling and pointing at people. She's getting very good at pointing people that are wearing masks and aren't wearing masks. She's starting to get a bit judgy in her tone, and I support that. We then went to the post office. She helped me post some things, was talking to the lady behind the counter. She said please, she said thank you. Then when we were done, we went and got some other bits and bobs again, saying please and thank you and bye-bye. This is my daughter, not me. I don't talk to people. Being very polite. And by the time we did actually stop for a break, and I had a coffee, she had a baby chino, and we shared a bit of cake. The amount of people over that time between us getting off the bus and going and sitting down telling me that my daughter had beautiful manners, she was so well behaved, I had such a polite little girl. Yes, I'm bragging about my child, allow me, please. It was so many people, and obviously I had my proud mum moment. I mean, who wouldn't? But it was in that moment that I was like, wow, how has this, what? So the context that you need at this point. I don't know whether I should have opened with this or whether I'm doing this in the right order. I don't know. We went into lockdown here in the UK on the 24th of March, I believe, which was because of the thing of which YouTube will not let us talk about. My daughter was 1, and she was in that awkward stage between baby and toddler where she was toddling, not walking, but toddling enough where she didn't want to be in her pushchair, she didn't want to be carried, but also she didn't want to do any like proper walking because too much. So that was a pain. The last big trip that I took out with her was only probably about 3 weeks before we went into lockdown, and it was a nightmare. I tried to take her into Birmingham city centre with my mother-in-law, and it was hell. She had reins on like you do with a toddler, but she didn't like that. But if I tried to take the reins off, she didn't like that. If I tried carrying her, she didn't like that. It was hell. At this point as well, the communication between us, like actual verbal communication, it weren't great. It wasn't great. Because again, I was trying to convey instructions and she wasn't getting it. She was trying to convey emotions and things that she wanted, and she couldn't because, we weren't there yet. So generally it was just a lot of yelling at each other. And this is, just me and my daughter. My husband was quite smart and he just hid. It was a really frustrating time. And when we went into lockdown, it was very scary because it was like, oh my God, we don't know what's going to happen now. Suddenly my husband's at home full time, which was weird because I've been a stay-at-home mum since my daughter was born. So suddenly there's this new dynamic of, oh, wow, Dad's here. Something that my daughter absolutely adored, which then became her new normal. I hated that word. I still hate that word. I hate this. It's the new normal. Shut up. Eat your foie gras and fuck off. Anyway. So that was new, but it went from suddenly me trying to communicate with my daughter to me and my husband trying to communicate with our daughter and her trying to communicate with us. So instead of her picking something up off me and then me having to convey it to my husband and say, oh yeah, this is the thing that we do now, there was none of that. She was getting it from both of us. And I think being in that little bubble, again, another word that I'm not using it in that term, but in a bubble where it was just the three of us, I think she loved it because she had just us to herself. It took a while, I think, before she realised that actually she hadn't seen anyone else apart from me and her dad. And in that time, I think she flourished because we could sit with her, we could do things with her, we could take her out for walks in the local area for our mandated government allowed walk from Boris. That meant that we could get her using those little legs, but it was in a safe, confined space where it was only the local area, which she got to learn, and she knew where she should hold our hand and when it was safe to run and be free and, do all that stuff. And I think that gave her room to sort of grow a bit more safely as well. Now, bearing in mind, I said that when we went on our solo trip yesterday, she was totally fine. She was confident. She was walking by me. She was holding my hand. And that wouldn't have happened had we not had that time in lockdown for her to do that. And in that time in lockdown where I've been able to teach her manners and say please and thank you and no thank you, and that obviously worked because I had so many people saying to me, oh, her manners are so lovely, she's so polite, she's, all of this. And the fact that we still took her out during lockdown, in terms of once, I think probably about after 2 months, we started taking her to the supermarket with us. We'd wear, well, actually, no, tell a lie. It was when things were starting to get softened. Ugh, I hate that word. We started taking her out with us, and she was starting to see the people wearing masks. That was normal. And she is getting a bit judgy towards people without masks, and we encourage that actively. Wear a mask. And I feel like that passage of time reflected in our that was reflected in our trip yesterday. And like I said, before lockdown I had a 1-year-old, now I have a 2-year-old. We celebrated her birthday, her second birthday in lockdown, which she loved because it was us in our back garden with some bubbles and some cake, and she really enjoyed it. I also celebrated my birthday in lockdown. I celebrated my 30th. I had brownies, and they were delicious. This passage of time, I feel like it's been so bizarre for a lot of people. I have friends that had babies at the start of lockdown who now have, 3-month-olds, 4-month-olds, 6-month-old, depending on where they are. They've had children that have not seen pre-COVID life, which sounds so bizarre, but then you think that we're of the generation that we vaguely know what life was like before 9/11, but there were so many people born after it that was just like, oh hey, that's an established part of history. And this is now. It's going to be so weird telling my daughter when she's older, oh yeah, we spent 3 months indoors. And I'm sure she's going to ask, oh, what was that like? I'm going to be able to turn around and go, not only did you love it, you thrived from it. And none of us could have bet that. But at the end of it, we left lockdown with a very happy, content, growing little girl who went from being a toddler to being a little girl in that time. And I feel that in one sense we were very lucky, but it is also just weird seeing that passage of time through your child. Is very, very bizarre. And I get that this story might not mean much to people, and I am aware that I might have also blabbed because I have no script or anything like that. I'm literally just staring at a mic, just talking. But I felt like this was something that I wanted to talk about, and maybe it's something that has been a thing for anyone listening. I mean, how has the passage of time during this part of history, I guess, been marked by you, your kids, your life? How has your life changed pre and post lockdown, and what's your marker for that? Do you have a marker for that, or has it literally just been like a 3-month pause button that you've been able to press again and carry on? Has that been your life? Has that been that for you? It's weird. Sometimes I still think it's a dream, but then I look at the little girl who's now saying please and thank you and I love you. It gets me, and sometimes it's worth it, but we shall see. We shall see how time goes. But thank you everyone for listening to me ramble for this amount of time. I really appreciate it. Check back in another 6 months when I post up another video. Hopefully I'll have posted up something before then, but in the meantime, thank you for watching, thank you for listening. I hope you like the piece that I've done with this video. I very much liked it. If you want to support more of my art, all my links are in the description. And take care of yourself, stay safe, and I guess I'll catch you later. Love you all. Bye.